The precious gift of this life, and why you're most likely wasting it. First, 2 reasons. Number 1, you're most likely wasting it because it's others' fault, other people's fault, not your own. Because you have not been taught the most helpful information to help you understand and value the gift of this life. Second, it's your fault because you have not valued the things that you believed were valuable in this life. The things that you wanted to achieve, the things that you believed were right or wrong, you did not live up to. And so, you have not appreciated the full value of life from that direction as well. So, nice way to start off a video. The best way for us to grow and experience greater joy in life is to really understand how things really are. We get closer to God by understanding and living up to our heroic character potential, living up to our true identity, because our true and best highest identity is God. It's God's identity that He has given to us. Because after all, through a roundabout way, which maybe I'll talk about another time, we are created in His image. And if we are not living up to that image in this life, we are not valuing the gift of this life that He has given to us. And because other people have not done that as well, we all are just kind of in this big messed up soup pot mix, and we don't know what we're doing here in life, and we don't really appreciate it for what it's worth. So, I hope you'll stick with me through this video. I have some really valuable things to share with you. These ideas they might be kind of mind-blowing, so I hope that you'll stick with me. This message is not intended to be a full in-depth treatise or full in-depth discussion or teaching on every part and piece to prove this all out. I hope that you'll stick with me and just know that I'm going to share some really important and valuable ideas that I have found valuable to help me appreciate and live the full gift that this life really is and experience the depth, the richness that life has to offer as God's gift to us. But again, it's not meant to be a full in-depth discussion of it. As briefly mentioned, the purpose of these videos on this channel is to help you fully connect to God, and we do that by understanding and living up to our full heroic character, using all of what God has given to us to reach our best ideal selves. That is how we connect with God in the best way possible. Pardon me, that is how we draw nearer to God. So there's a lot that goes into that. To do this, one of the most important things to understand is the purpose of this life, among, again, so many other things. There are many ways to understand the purpose of this life, but we're going to focus on one perspective, one of the most helpful perspectives in my opinion. So to appreciate the value of this life and its purpose, we need to understand where its contrast is. The contrast of the value of this life is when we leave this life. We can so much more greatly understand the value of this life when we have a much more accurate understanding and deep understanding of what happens after this life. So that's what we're going to discuss. To put it simply, the purpose of this life, to work up to the part that happens after this life, you are here to grow. You probably heard that before. We're here to grow. You're here to leave better than when you got here. You are here to become more like God. As Jesus says in the New Testament, this is life eternal, that they might know thee and Jesus Christ whom thou hast sent. So what are some of the inner workings of this life to help us understand its purpose better? For a long time ago, I just started understanding what does this life come back to? What are the things that we actually have in this life that we are using? I mean, is my car intrinsically valuable to me being able to live? I mean, in one perspective, yes, but if I didn't have a car, I'd still be alive, right? And we could draw so many other comparisons beyond just a car or a house or streets or food or, whatever. So we can go on living without so many things. So what does this life really come back to? Let's consider 3 things: body, mind, and spirit. body, mind, and spirit, when understanding those things, will help us to reveal a much more helpful understanding and deep understanding of the purpose of this life. So let's discuss each one of those and get a better perspective on their purpose individually, body, mind, and spirit. Let's start with our physical body. Our physical body's purpose, among many things, is to fundamentally allow our spirit body to grow. Our spirit body is able to grow and be expanded in its capacity by the catalyst or the mechanism of our physical body. Whoa. Have you ever considered that before? Might be a new idea. So what is actually growing? When your spirit body grows through the mechanism of your physical body, what is it that your spirit body is growing in? Your spirit body is growing in its capacity and also the filling of light. Light, glory, intelligence, wisdom, we could call it lots of different things. All of those things are different in varying degrees and perspectives, but for just simplicity, we'll call it light. Your spirit grows in light, okay? Your body is the facilitator for your spirit to be able to be filled up with greater light through God's guidance and His gifts in His spirit, and also expanding our spirit and its ability to hold more light, like a cup or some sort of container of some kind. A cup, you can fill it up, but the cup is as big as the cup is. When our cup is able to be expanded, then we can obviously fill it with more. So that is like the relationship of our body to our spirit. Okay? So our mind, how does the mind fit into all this? Well, the mind is like the active awareness or the consciousness that is using the camera. So what is growing in your spirit body? Like, what does that actually mean? Your spirit grows in its capacity for light. It's like a container, and I'm going to draw another analogy here in just a second, but briefly, your spirit is like a container for light. Or you got a cup. You can fill the cup up with water, but when the cup reaches its capacity, it's overflowing. It can't hold any more. So our body allows our spirit, it's the mechanism to expand our spiritual capacity to be filled with greater light and truth. Okay? So let's put all three of these things, body, mind, and spirit, into a more comprehensive analogy. Your body and your spirit can be related to the analogy of, or metaphor of, a camera and film. Your body and spirit are camera, as your body to your spirit is as camera is to film. And I'm old enough that I used to use film cameras. Maybe, depending on who's listening, maybe you're unfamiliar with film cameras so much. It still applies with digital cameras, camera to digital memory card. Okay, it's the same thing here. I'm going to stick with camera and film just to be simple and just to pick something, okay? So your physical body is like the camera. Your spirit is like the film. The film, if for those of you that are familiar with film cameras, you know that if you expose the film to too much light, then it's just a blob. It's not really useful. It's not focused. It's not crisp. It's not discernible of really anything. And there's so many different little analogies that we could get in there. So continuing on though, that's the relationship between camera or body and spirit and camera and film. Now our mind. Your mind is simply like the active awareness or the consciousness, the conscious user of the camera and the film. The one that is using those two things, the spirit and the body, the spirit and the physical body, and then discerning the information that is captured through those things, discerning the photo, if you will, the user behind the camera. Your exposure to the light or the experience of reality is discerned, processed, and embodied through your physical body onto into the capacitor of and record of your spirit. Your spirit is able to be written on and expanded through the mechanism of the body with the experience of reality that can be captured. Wow. Okay. I hope that you're sticking with me. Let's keep going. So this is like being put in a room full of light or a room of darkness. It can work both ways. So if there's too much light to be able to discern things, or if there's too little light to be able to discern things, it's like, for your body, it's like film being put into a room. It's either too bright and just overexposed, or too dark and underexposed. So your physical body is like putting on sunglasses in a room that's too full of light, or putting on night vision goggles in a room with too little light. So your body is like a veil, if you will. A veil that filters and focuses your experience so that it can be discernible by your mind and spirit. Wow, pretty cool. As you grow now, your camera gets upgraded by God. First, perhaps like a wind-up disposable camera. I used to have those a lot when I was a kid, and I used to waste most of the shots on those cameras. There's interesting lessons that we could draw from that, but we'll continue on. Perhaps next, being expanded to or upgraded to a digital camera. Much more feature-rich, much more crisp images, much more technologically advanced, and the capacity, a digital storage card where you can, capture gigabytes upon gigabytes upon gigabytes instead of just a few snapshots on film. 20 or 30 pictures versus like thousands or tens of thousands, right? Then beyond that, perhaps like this actually could be a really accurate analogy. Perhaps beyond a digital camera, it could be something like the James Webb or Hubble space telescopes. Now we come to the sharp point of this video to help us draw the contrast between this life and its purpose and its value. Again, we have to understand what happens after we leave this life. What do we or don't we have access to when we pass away from this life that we otherwise do have access to or the opportunity for in this life? Let's discuss. When you die, when your physical body and your spirit body are separated, it's like your physical camera, the structure and the device that allows your spirit to discern, grow, and be filled is removed. Your spirit is removed from the ability to grow because it's removed from your body. Now, to put it a little bit more accurately, you still can grow after you leave this life. And again, I'm not going to share a whole bunch of scriptures or this, that, or whatever. I hope that it'll suffice that there is a pattern in all things. I'm going to suggest to you or claim to you that there is a pattern in all things. And when we find things in this life that are concrete examples of things that we can consider of a spiritual nature, there is most likely a strong lesson or truth that we can draw to compare them, or analogy that we can draw. Analogies are always limited, so there's always going to be differences, again, limitations, and things beyond either one. Again, what I'm suggesting to you is that when we die, our spirit's ability to grow and to be filled to the opportunity that is available in this life is drastically removed. When that is removed, you still can grow. It is so greatly limited, though. Again, like a camera being the structure, the masculine aspect of the whole experience, being able to instill light on the film or the digital card of the camera. This is so important for us to be able to understand and value this life. When you leave this life, you don't have greater capacity to learn and grow. You have less. You have more capacity to learn and grow in this life. What does that limitation look more like? You will not be able to grow beyond the ability, after you die, beyond the ability of your camera upgrades that you received in mortal life. Again, you'll still be able to grow. You will not be able to grow beyond being a wind-up disposable camera, if that's all you were willing to let God lead you to be upgraded by, through your obedience to his voice and your knowledge of what is best. If you reach the state of being born again, if you will, to a totally different upgrade, a digital camera perhaps, if you die in that state, then you can still grow a lot within that particular frame or that particular level. But you will not be able to go beyond and be upgraded to, say, a space telescope. Jesus spoke of some of these concepts. He said, "I must do the works of him who sent me while it is day. For when the night comes, no labor can be performed." Paraphrasing. Pay attention to the language that the scriptures use to describe things like, and I'm going to read some off to you here, about sleep, death, life, day, and works. In scripture, sleep, the concept of sleep or the term that's used for sleep, is commonly linked or associated to death. And awakening oftentimes has connotations for an event or experience that's happening in this life. There are certainly awakenings and things, beyond this life, or at times as, using scriptural or religious language, things like resurrection and stuff like that. But for simplicity, sleep, death, awake, life, in this life, oftentimes in context of this mortal life, more than just beyond a death. Okay, to bring all of this together now, this life is so precious because you cannot grow to greater capacities except in this life. Nowhere else in all of existence of reality are you able to grow closer to God than in this time of mortal life, because you have a physical, perishable, mortal body that can suffer the pains and consequences of reality in such a unique sphere that is nowhere else to be found in all of reality. This is done by the mechanisms of your body interacting with your spirit, interacting with your mind, and all three working together to allow God, that according to his design, to teach you and expand your knowledge, your capacity, your power to be more like him, and to receive the greatest joys by overcoming the greatest sorrows. That again cannot be experienced in any other way than for the purpose of growth in mortal life. I hope that this has been helpful to you. When I was introduced to these ideas, again, it can be jarring. It can be sobering. It can be a little scary. Yet, it is what I believe, or I claim to you, a far more accurate and helpful understanding and enriching understanding to understand the truth of how things really are. This life, if you squander it away, will cause you such great pain of regret and sorrow that cannot be described after you pass away. The opposite, if you utilize this life, like in the parable of the talents, where a good and faithful servant has been faithful over a few things, the joy and the reward of experience and richness that you have after this life is beyond likewise description. So again, I hope this has been helpful. If you have found this interesting, helpful, beneficial, stick around for many more lessons like this to come. And until then, live your greatest adventure. Take care.